Okay. This meeting is being live streamed. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Wonder Series Wednesday. Yep, it's Wednesday again. And of course, Wonder Series is your opportunity to step back, take a look at your life from a different perspective, and really to look at the opportunities and the possibilities that could come into your life if you open yourself up to them. What would you be, or who would you be? What would you do? And essentially, how would that help you create that healthy, happy lifestyle you're searching for and truly flourish in life? So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Denise Siegel. I'm the CEO and curator at Living Healthy List and your host of the Wonder Series. So this month, we've been talking kind of loosely about goals and mission and purpose, and how resilience works in with those, how they're all intertwined. And there's so many different views when we talk about resilience and different ways to become resilient in an individual way. And so I'm really excited to talk with our expert guest today. Our expert guest is Angela Head Vincent. And I am just going to stop here and ask a quick question. Angela, are you hearing me talking over myself over here?
I am.
Because I'm just, as we're going live, I'm just making sure that I have the right, I seem to be talking to myself over here. Huh. I hear myself talking live.
I can hear that too in the background. It's probably distracting for you.
Let me figure that out a second. Let's stop that from happening. Okay, so I am. Okay, so here we go. We're back. And so here I am again. Sorry, little technical difficulty there. Every now and then when you go live, things happen. So Angela is the owner of True You Tapping. She is an EFT Master, IEFT, and Energy Medicine Practitioner for people at their emotional and spiritual breaking points. She helps her clients honor and release the emotional traumas of their past, using their biggest challenges as catalysts for that transformation, so they can fully embody the truth of who they are, even if they don't actually know the cause of their issues. Angela introduced us something new to the world of healing and transformation. She has developed a unique approach to burnout recovery and intuitive development, and continues to create innovative programs to help people find their balance in various aspects of life. And today we're actually going to touch upon, we're going to talk more about burnout recovery and resilience. And so I'm really excited to have Angela here. Angela, hello. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Wonder Series.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. So Angela and I met at a women's retreat back in November, and she gave a session there of her EFT session. It was really the first time I'd really experienced EFT or tapping, and she'll explain that a bit more. Personally, I knew what it was. I had read about it. I'd seen videos, but I'd never experienced it myself. So this is really a unique modality. And so please, Angela, tell us a little bit about you, how you got to where you are today, and tell us a little bit more about EFT and tapping, what that really is.
Yeah, well, so EFT, also known as emotional freedom techniques, that's the technical term for it. It's honestly one of the most effective modalities that I've ever come across, which is why I dove so deep into it. And it utilizes the meridian system in the body, so just like acupuncture, but without the needles. So instead of using needles, you are using vibration, and that's what's clearing the meridians. It helps with releasing emotions and limiting beliefs and all sorts of other things. And the way that I got into tapping was because I was severely burnt out. And that was how I found my way. I knew that I needed to heal. I knew that I really couldn't function anymore. I was newly let go from a job, 2 other people at exactly the same time from an arts organization. And they actually eliminated multiple positions at the time because of financial, restructuring and all sorts of fun things. And when I was done, I was so severely burnt out, and I checked in with my wife thinking, we're just going to keep going. Where are we going to go next? And I said, what do you think I should do next? And they said, nothing. I think you need to stop. I think you need to take a break. And it was a huge gift because it's exactly what my body needed, was to take a break. And I really dove into tapping because I knew that it was so helpful in reducing stress, in reducing cortisol. I really didn't know what else to do. I looked around, there weren't any programs for it. There weren't any recommendations other than take as much time as you need. And in figuring out how burnt out I was and the amount of time that it was supposed to take for me to heal with doing absolutely nothing, it was supposed to take between 3 and 5 years for me to heal from the level of burnout I had. And I was like, wow, well, I'm really impatient and that's not going to work for me.
That would be me.
I've got stuff to do. I'm not doing that. And so I did take the time, but I also stepped into my own healing journey within that space and got my, I got my master level EFT practitioner status and started helping other people. And within a year and a half, I was where I needed to be. And then I developed a program. For other people to do the same thing in 10 weeks or less. And so I'm helping people find the balance that they need, understanding that resilience isn't just about taking time off. It's all of the other stuff that built up to you getting to that point, because that doesn't just happen in a week or a year or even 2 years, right? It takes a while to build.
Sure. And I'm thinking, if people just, take the time off, what are you doing in that time to actually heal and recover from burnout? If you're just saying, oh, okay, I'm going to take the time off, what would that person be doing? And how does that really help? Just taking time.
Yeah.
If we're not focusing on the cause, the challenge that we've just been through. And just to me, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's almost like ignoring it, just doing nothing.
Exactly. Like, yep. And then you can get back to it and do exactly the same thing. Like it'll take no time at all for you to burn out again. And so that was really the key for me to figure out what it was that was causing it. And it went way back further than I was thinking. It wasn't just any of the jobs that I had. It was all of the childhood traumas. It was all of the stuff that got piled on top of my life that I just couldn't handle anymore. And my nervous system just said, nope, I can't do this anymore. And so it was about stepping all the way back into all those places that built in all of the limiting beliefs, all of the ways that I thought about what I had to do for work, what work had to mean, that I had to work for other people and make other people happy and do all of the things that we're supposed to do, but didn't build in any time for myself. All of those things were really, really important. And then understanding what self-care was. Like, people tell you self-care is important, but I don't think they tell you what that means. Like, okay, so that means getting good sleep. That also means it means finding things that you love to do so that they build your energy. And it also means finding the things that are stealing your energy, that you're giving your energy to. And a lot of times that goes really, really far back in your timeline. So it takes a little bit of both, like finding the passion and the pain in your life and dealing with both of them appropriately. That's the balance.
I think you make a very good point with the pain, because most of us ignore that piece. It's uncomfortable. And you're right. When we talk, self-care, people will say, oh, go get a massage. And that's great. I love massage. I'm a certified massage therapist myself. It's fantastic. But there's more to self-care than that one thing. I mean, that's one of those, it's part of it for sure.
Right.
But it has to go deeper.
Yeah. And telling someone to take a bubble bath or, doing something nice for themselves, well, that's lovely. And that's really external and in the moment. And your body needs that time to relax and refresh. And there's a reason that there's pain underneath, and not looking at it just means that it's going to build. Like you
right.
need to deal with it.
No matter what, it's still there. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that pain. Before we jumped on live, we actually said, we're all dealing with stuff.
Yep.
And so let's talk about that stuff.
Great.
Where does it begin? For everyone, we we think, I had a great childhood. Everything was great. I had a great life. I still have a great life. Everything's awesome. Blah, blah, blah. And really, we believe that. And
We do.
it could very well be the case you had a nice childhood, but there's always something.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those some things.
Yeah. So for the vast majority of people, if you ask them when they come in and see me, for instance, I have never ever worked with any person who didn't have some sort of big thing happen before the age of 10. Always. Whether they're talking about like, I don't feel good enough. We're working on this limiting belief. Like, let's release this belief that I don't feel good enough. Great. When did that start? Part of the way that I work now is that I use muscle testing also, which means that I'm connecting in with other people's energy systems and testing for them and getting those yeses and nos. And with that, I can step back and say, when did this actually start? And they'll say, something happened when I was 12. And we'll do some muscle testing and I will say, I'm getting something at 3. And they'll say, oh my gosh, I think it's that. Either they'll remember it or they'll say, I don't really know. And once we tap to release the 3-year-old issue, it's gone. And they'll be like, I feel totally different. Like now I feel like I'm good enough. Of course I'm good enough. Why did I ever think I wasn't? So what's nice, sometimes we don't know where that issue started, but chances are it started when you were little. And yes, we love to think that we had great childhoods, and some of us had phenomenal childhoods, and that is great. And I think that a lot of times we like to just remember the good times because it's easier and push the bad ones off until all of a sudden everything looks terrible and you don't understand why everything looks like a mess in your life. And if you step back a little bit further, you understand that you haven't been dealing with a whole lot of stuff for a whole long time.
That's very true. That happens, so often, in the health and wellness world that we're in. People know that they're making bad choices, whether it's, eating poorly, not sleeping, not exercising. And it's really not until kind of everything falls apart that they go, okay, maybe I need to focus on this.
Yeah. It's those pain points. And I really think that those are really for our highest good. If we wouldn't have any issues, if we wouldn't have any pain, we wouldn't want to grow. There wouldn't be any reason for us to step out of our comfort zones. There would be absolutely zero reason for me to do something uncomfortable if on the other side of that wasn't some sort of reward, whether that's feeling better, like out of the pain, feeling better, or to be more joyful in my life and step into a passion or a purpose of mine. And so otherwise, what's the point? We're creature comfort sort of individuals. We want to have that space and time where we just feel good. Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. But I think you're right. At some point, what do you want more? And I guess that's a question, with the pain and the passion, do you want more, and which is, out of balance?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really the key, right? Is to look at both the pain and the passion in your life and seeing where it is out of balance. Are you focusing too much on the pain and you're not able to focus on the passion and the purpose? Or do you have so much pain and you really don't know how to get through it because there aren't the tools available to you to do that, and you're just getting stuck in that space? Find somebody else to work with. Like find either it's tapping or it's another modality, but find someone to work with so that you can release whatever pain you're holding, because then you can move into the spaces in your life where you can really live your purpose.
I think that's really what all of us are really dreaming about is, we want to flourish in life. We all say, we want to be healthy, we want to be happy. And of course, I talk about that a lot, but being healthy and being happy, one, you can't have one without the other. But really, ultimately, what we're looking for is flourishing in life. Yeah. And we can't flourish if we're still dealing with these pain points that we maybe haven't uncovered.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So how does one, we talk about, hold the space for the pain. Explain that a little bit more to me, because, is it just focusing on it, thinking about it? Explain that a little bit more. How does one who's struggling kind of not want to deal with it, but actually hold that space for themselves?
I love to tell people to do that. So I'm going to actually ask you to bring up not a massive childhood trauma, anybody on the call, but bring up something, a little bit of a sadness or grief maybe, or someone hurt you in some way. And I just want you to close your eyes and focus on it just for a moment. And rather than trying to ignore it or push it away, I want you to welcome it in. And I want you to hold it like you would hold a small child. And honor it, because it is there for a reason, right? There is a wisdom within whatever emotion that is. Allow it to share whatever wisdom it has for you. And eventually you'll find that it will release itself. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot of people say, well, just let it go. Okay, that's a very active way of doing something. And this is not that. This is, I am going to hold that space because this thing, this emotion actually has something very, very valuable to share with me. And it's not leaving until it gives me that information. So if I don't listen, it will get louder. It will get louder and louder until I can't hear anything else. Mm-hmm. So give it that space and time that it needs, and really, really hold it dear. And even if it's anger, an emotion that you don't like, oh, I shouldn't be having anger. You need anger. That is a justified, you're actually feeling some sort of an injustice has happened. That's where anger comes from. It is the manifestation of an emotion of injustice. Honor it. Oh, there has been an injustice. Absolutely. I would never treat anyone like that. Okay, great. And allow it to speak to you and tell you exactly what it needs to share, because it's got all the answers for you. So that's what that means, to hold space.
Thank you for that explanation. Truly, I don't think anyone's really explained it that in depth, very simply and kind of layman's terms. But you're right. So often people will just say, oh, well, get over it. Or, that happened 10 years ago. Who cares?
Right.
And you're right that there is something from any situation. There is a learning experience.
Yeah.
Always. And I think that's really an important thing to realize in life.
Yeah.
That it's not just, things happen and we do have to deal with them and sit with them, as you say, hold that space. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So
how does tapping, I get I understand vibration, I understand meridians. How does tapping help someone now holding the space for the pain, who wants to release it and move on so they can flourish in life and get over, I say flourish, we're talking about, also, getting over burnout, and getting over the burnout helps people to flourish in life.
Yeah. Well, so what tapping does is it's scientifically proven to reduce cortisol levels in the body, better than medication, better than meditation, and better than exercise. And when they were doing the studies on it, they really thought their machines were broken. And then they finally decided, they're not broken. It's just that good. So what it's actually doing within you, if you think about all of the energy running through your system, right? These meridians are the channels for the energy to move. And if something is stuck inside of those channels, and that piece of energy is an emotion of some kind that's stuck inside of the channel and it's not able to release for whatever reason, perhaps you haven't honored it and brought it up, or it's a traumatic event and it's something that is beyond uncomfortable to actually bring up and deal with, it will get stuck in your energy system, and you'll see it start to manifest in physical ways later. But with tapping, you're bringing up whatever event or emotion or limiting belief, and you're allowing it just to be as you're tapping, so that it can allow energy to flow and clear those meridians for you. So that's really what tapping is doing. And it's very simple. It's very active. We've got, most of the tapping points are like on your face and on your neck. And then some are actually on your hands. So it's very simple to do. It's something you can do for yourself anytime. You don't need a practitioner to be able to tap for yourself and bring those cortisol levels down every single day. Some of my clients have tapping practices that are amazing and far beyond, any other people that I know who actually have a daily practice. They tap morning and evening, which is kind of what I do because I think it's so important to be able to release all of that from your system. But that's how tapping helps to actually do that. But you're focusing on whatever it is that you want to release and bringing up that specific thing so that it can release from your system.
So tapping is essentially the releasing. How about, does it help to bring more positive things in as well? If we're releasing
Absolutely.
negative emotion, whatever it might be, I'm not a practitioner, but I'm assuming that then it's bringing in some positive.
Oh, absolutely. So if you have, some sort of limiting belief, let's stick with, I'm not good enough, right? You actually want to replace that thought or that belief system with something else. So the first thing you do is sit down and say, okay, so what do I believe? Where did that come from? You want to find the core of it. And then what do I want to believe instead? And that is what you build into your system after you've released all of the other. So you're replacing something that doesn't suit you, that isn't in alignment with your soul, that actually is in alignment with your soul. So you want to have that balance. Absolutely, absolutely. With emotions, you're just releasing the emotion, but with a belief, you need to replace it with something that actually matches you energetically. And so I never come up with a belief for someone. I'll ask them, well, what do you want to believe instead? What is that thing? Because I can say, I believe that I'm the best person ever. Language is really important within tapping. And so to find the exact language, I want to believe that I can do anything that I want to in the world, and that it's my choice to do that. Great. That is what we do.
I want to believe that. Go on, believe that.
I love that, Denise.
I mean, truly, when you said that, I'm like, yeah, I kind of think that, but I kind of think that, but I really want to believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So I see how that comes in.
Well, and interestingly enough, if you think about the thing that you want to believe, I think that people focus on that sometimes first instead of focusing on releasing the old. And then they get really frustrated that their patterns aren't changing. Like, why don't I believe that about myself? I'm positive affirmationing the heck out of myself. Like, why is this not working? And I think it's because when you've got that limiting belief that's set in your energy system, even if you add these beautiful thoughts and feelings, it still bounces back to that old belief. So you need to find that first. So actually focusing on, okay, so where is that? What is that? When did that happen? Finding that space, and then we can focus on the positive.
Can you show us a little bit of tapping?
Yeah, for sure. So do you have anything, rather than a limiting belief, do you have an emotion that you would like to tap on? Anything that's coming up for you?
I think with some of the great things that I have going on with Living Healthy List, I would like to increase my confidence level.
Your confidence level. Okay.
Yes.
So can you find an emotion that you're experiencing around the lack of confidence? Because actually lack of confidence is a little bit of a belief. So you've got a belief system somewhere set in there.
oh, and it's going to be I'm not good enough. Who am I to put this out in the world?
Exactly. Do you have an emotion rather than a belief? Because they're two different things. And I think that the people who are visiting and watching right now could actually do release an emotion faster and easier and understand it better than otherwise they might get frustrated. Sure. Because the emotional freedom techniques, there's an S on the end of techniques. And that's the important part, is because there are different techniques for something that you want to do. So releasing emotions is different than releasing limiting beliefs.
So what comes up for me is fear.
Fear. So do you have a number between 0 and 10 for fear?
Some days it's a 9 or a 10, and other days it's, kind of sits around a 5. I would say I probably sit between a 5 and a 6 on a pretty regular basis. Like, it's not always like so intense, but it's always there.
So the number we're choosing is 10. It is the highest number that you said, so that's the one we're going with. Okay. And the reason that is because we love to say, but I'm good, right? Like, I actually am really fearful, but most of the time I'm fine. But the really fearful is the place we want to find and release. So,
and I said that. I said 10. You're right, I did. But then I said, yeah, I probably sit around a 5 or 6 most of the time. Mm-hmm.
But I'm mostly good. So do you have a sense of where that fear came from? And what is that fear if you were to name where it came from?
I think it's probably from a time when I was young when, and actually I can remember one thing in particular. I mean, little things here and there, but I was in this is embarrassing. I was in a beauty contest when I was 13 or 14 years old. And there was this part where we had to show a talent. And I decided to play the flute. I had been playing the flute for maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And I really enjoyed it. And I thought I was pretty good. And like I said, I was 13. So I was one of the younger girls in this teenage pageant. And so the girl who went ahead of me, maybe 2 people ahead of me, was 18 years old, 17 or 18, senior in high school, had been playing the flute for years, and she played beautifully. She played this amazing sonnet, and I was going to be playing this 13-year-old, brand new to flute piece that was really, in my opinion, inferior to what she could do. And so I was afraid at that point to go up because she'd already gone and done so beautifully. I was really afraid to go and perform.
So because you were comparing yourself to someone else. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So the fear right now for you that comes up at a 10, is that around, what is that around? Is that a fear of fill in the blank?
I think it's fear of letting people down. I have this great vision. I have wonderful people who are coming along on this ride with me and growing this collaboration and this great platform, Living Healthy List. And I think that's where the fear really comes, is not being able to really do what I set out to do and disappoint people along the way.
Were there people in the audience when you were 13 or 14 that you thought you were going to disappoint somehow?
My mom was there, but I don't think I could ever disappoint my mom. Okay. She was always incredibly supportive. So I don't know that was it. I think the people in the audience, I was more thinking that, they're going to hear me now play this new piece or this beginner piece and be like, that's not real talent, or somehow, have negative thoughts about what I was doing.
Got it. So we're going to settle into that beauty contest space. Where is your fear right now if you imagine yourself on that stage?
Oh my gosh, like my heart is like doing one of these, talking about it.
Yeah. Okay. So that experience is in your energy system and you can feel that it's not gone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to tap on, I want you to think about that experience in particular, and we are going to focus on the fear, and then we are going to do a couple of rounds of tapping. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, we'll start here. Even though I have all this fear in my body.
Even though I have all this fear in my body.
From when I was 13 or 14.
For when I was 13 or 14.
In that beauty contest.
In that beauty contest.
I was so proud of myself.
I was so proud of myself.
But then I realized I wasn't going to be good enough.
But then I realized I wasn't going to be good enough.
For me.
For me.
Even though I have all this fear in my body.
Even though I have all this fear in my body.
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I have all this fear.
Even though I have all this fear.
That I'm going to let other people down.
I'm going to let other people down.
Because I'm not good enough.
Because I'm not good enough.
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Even though I have all this fear.
Even though I have all this fear.
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Love, accept, and forgive myself.
Okay. Top of the head, all this fear.
All this fear.
Eyebrow point right here, all this fear.
All this fear.
Side of the eye, all this fear.
All this fear.
All this fear in my body.
All this fear in my body.
I can still feel it.
I can still feel it.
Being on stage.
Being on stage.
Absolutely terrified.
Absolutely terrified.
Because I thought I wasn't going to be good enough.
Because I thought I wasn't going to be good enough.
Because I was comparing myself to someone else.
Because I was comparing myself to someone else.
All this fear.
All this fear.
Index finger, all this fear.
All this fear. Oh.
Yeah, right here. And then middle finger, all this fear.
All this fear.
Yeah, skip the ring finger and jump to the pinky, all this fear.
All this fear.
Back of the hand, all this fear.
All this fear.
Okay, go ahead and close your eyes. Stay on the back of the hand tapping and open your eyes. Keeping your head facing forward, look hard down left and forward and hard down right and forward and all the way around the circle clockwise, all the way around the circle counterclockwise. And all the way.
Hold on.
Look down to your right and down to your left.
Okay.
There you go. And hum.
Mm.
Count to 5 really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And hum. Nice. Side of the hand. All this fear in my body.
All this fear in my body.
It's been there for such a long time.
It's been there for such a long time.
All this fear.
All this fear.
This 13-year-old fear.
This 13-year-old fear.
She didn't think she was good enough.
She didn't think she was good enough.
But I need her to know.
But I need her to know.
She was absolutely good enough.
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 All this fear.
All this fear.
Is actually unfounded.
Is actually unfounded.
Top of the head, all this fear.
All this fear.
All this fear she felt.
All this fear she felt.
All the fear in that event.
All this fear in that event.
She had nothing to worry about.
She had nothing to worry about.
Because she is her own person.
Because she is her own person.
She doesn't need to compare herself to an 18-year-old.
She doesn't need to compare herself to an 18-year-old.
Who's had years of experience.
Who's had years of experience.
She was exceptional.
She was exceptional.
She didn't let anybody down.
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 And neither did I.
And neither did I.
All this fear.
All this fear.
All this fear.
All this fear.
Under the eye. All this fear.
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 Collarbone. All this fear.
All this fear.
Center of chest. All this fear.
All this fear.
Under the arm, all this fear.
All this fear.
Top of the head, all this fear.
All this fear.
Good. Take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Your face looks very different than when we started. You look like you're a little more calm. Go ahead and check in with that younger self. Imagine yourself on that stage. And tell me your number for fear.
Maybe a 4. And I think that's, yeah, wow.
Yeah. And that was only one go round. So
Wow.
yeah. So there you
It's
go.
funny, when we were talking about it before, I noticed like even I felt it in my stomach as we were talking about it, and that's gone.
Nice. Well, this is going to help you if you are, or anybody else listening is experiencing some sort of fear or worry about going into a meeting, doing something like this, where you're speaking with people live. Under the eye is that place where it's actually connected in with your stomach meridian. So you're going to calm your system of worry. So that's a good tapping point for worry.
So does it matter right side, left side?
It doesn't. You can tap both if you want to. You might be able to tell that one side is more sensitive than the other. I will say that our energy systems are set up so that your more dominant side is linked to your paternal side, and your non-dominant side is linked to your maternal side, which means it's all of the your maternal side is the space of receiving. It's the space of magnetizing things to you, of listening to your senses, really settling in and listening to your emotions and all of the things that are coming in, which is what we're not so good at doing in our society, interestingly enough. And then what alchemizes inside of you, and the right side of you is the space where you decide you're going to do something. That's the more active, that's the space that people usually see, the external side of you, right? So this is more internally focused, and this is more externally focused. And I say that the dominant side is I'm not saying right side or left side, because some people have dominant sides that are left rather than right. So just figure out which one is yours. But noticing that, like, oh yes, my left side is more sensitive. Sometimes that actually has to do with something in your childhood that has to do with like a grandmother or a mother.
Sure. Well, I can see that. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that's interesting. That's something I'd like to explore a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I want to explore more. So Angela, tell our audience how people can explore more, learn more about you and what you do and how you help your clients. Where can people find you?
Okay. Well, you can find me on my website, which is trueyoutapping.com. And you can actually find if you sign up on my mailing list, you can have a tapping points diagram so that you understand where those tapping points are and you can tap for yourself. And through my website, you'll find that you can link to another website, which is my Teachable website, and that's got all of my programs on it. So you can set either individual sessions with me on my website if you want hour-long sessions with me. And if you want to dive a little deeper into, maybe you're really burnt out and you need a burnout recovery program or a shortened burnout recovery program, I have a triage program that you can jump into that's like, I need this right now.
Tell people now.
Please. And you can find both of those on my Teachable site, but everything is located within my True You Tapping website. And yeah, if you've got any questions at all, reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions at all that folks have about tapping or anything else that might come to mind.
I really appreciate this conversation, the going through the tapping. I mean, I think that's really important for people, because like I said earlier, I had heard about tapping. I kind of knew what it was about, but until I went through it and experienced it, it wasn't something that I really understood. So I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that for me and for our audience.
Absolutely. I do think that is something that people need to experience for themselves to truly understand. You can see it happening for someone. You're like, huh, that's curious. I wonder. But oh, now I understand. I feel more relaxed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I will make sure that all of the information, how people can find you, is in the show notes on YouTube and on Facebook. You can also find the recordings on livinghealthylist.com. So thank you everyone for being here, whether you're here watching live on YouTube and Facebook, or if you are watching the replay. I'm Denise Stiegel. I am with Living Healthy List. I am your CEO and curator here, and I am always your host of the Wonder Series. We'll be back next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Again, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Facebook, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. While you're over there, if you like our show, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe, and you'll get a notice when we go live again. And if you're on podcast network or whichever, Google or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. We would love to hear from you, and please share us with your friends. So until next week, I leave you with this: healthy living, happy life. Have a great week, everyone.